All right, boys and girls, distance learners, you're at a disadvantage because you're gonna get this 2 days behind, and you've already seen it, but you are gonna see what we're going over in class because we are gonna be using this later in the school year when we get into water cycles and talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning, all of that. Right now, there is a Hurricane Laura that is located out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. And as you see, Tampa is here. Lauren, can you turn off one light, please, so it shows up better? Tampa is over here, and Texas is over here, Galveston. Houston is right underneath in this area. It sits on back off the coast just a little bit. New Orleans is right here. This is where Marco, we talked about Marco the other day. It just became a tropical storm and got downgraded to just a rainmaker, and that was it. I think this is what's left of Marco over here. But it came into New Orleans. At one time it was a hurricane and came up and went into New Orleans. It didn't go in as a hurricane, it just went in as a tropical storm. This one is much worse. Right now it is a Category 2 hurricane, and it's predicted to get up to a 3, possibly a 4 in a hurricane, with strength really bad. There could be a lot of damage that will be done. The darker, the pinks up here, what that is the radar showing how high the clouds are going. The higher the clouds, the more rain there is underneath. This is starting to look more like a hurricane. Last night I was showing my class over there, and I said, take a look at this because it's going to change today. And so there wasn't an eye. It was missing a lot of things. And right now, this is the eye. The eye is the center of the hurricane. And this is looking very strong because there is storms all the way around it, okay? Sometimes you will get hurricanes where the eye is here and a lot of the storms are off over here and there's nothing on this side. And that happens often. It's just a weak hurricane is all that it is. This one is a very strong one. In the eye, if you have a sink at home or a bathtub and you fill it with water and then you pull the drain, pull the cork, and the water starts to go, and if you watch, it'll go into like a spin action going down. That's like the eye. And if you look down in that spin, you can see the drain without any water touching. You can see straight to the drain. If you took a long stick, a skinny stick, you could go down and touch the drain and bring it back out without that getting wet. Okay? Same thing happens with this eye. The eye it's clear in there. If this was an actual satellite view, you would be looking down and you would see the water from space. You could look straight into the eye and you could see the water. When Hurricane Dorian was off the coast of Florida last year, it had like a 2-mile eye in it. So in other words, if you were in the middle, you go 1 mile that way and you're off to where all the winds and the rain are. You go 1 mile that way, you're off where the winds are. Same in all directions. But you could look up and you'd see blue sky. Okay? But all around you is all this dangerous weather. Okay? And it's just the way the weather goes, the way the system is. To me, it's fascinating, but it's also very dangerous. This one is going to be very dangerous. In fact, up here where all of these red lines are, these are what are called hurricane warnings, because this storm is supposed to hit in, I think it's now planned sometime tomorrow morning, okay? It's very dangerous storm. Here is what they have on it. It is 115 mile an hour winds right now. Yesterday it was only 85. So do the math. I know we just got done with math, but that's 30 mile an hour winds stronger in the meantime from just yesterday. It's moving at 15 miles an hour northwest. So it's going northwest at 15. All along this coast is where they're predicting it to hit. These orange ones, these are watches. This is a warning, okay, the darker color. Warning means within 24 hours, something is gonna hit. Watches means that it may not, or it's longer than 24 hours before a storm will hit, okay? So you'll hear about that with tornadoes. You'll also hear about it with hurricanes, okay? They give out watches warning people, okay? And that's one of the good things about the technology that we have in the United States and the communication to open it up to get people out of there, okay? Because this is going to be a dangerous storm. They had one picture here that you could see. This one. This shows right now where here's the eye, and you can see where some of the storms are starting to come ashore out here already. Okay, now would you say, a lot of people, I sit there and think, all right, the storms are starting to hit, well, it's making landfall. Yeah, it is, but what they call landfall is when this eye actually touches land, and they're predicting it to hit like right in here along the Texas and Louisiana border, okay? And it can do a lot of damage. It will take down trees. It'll take down big trees like Fred out here. It can be very dangerous. Trees can fall on power lines. Trees can fall on houses. Some houses, apartments that aren't being built with solid, good material, they're in trouble. We have these brick buildings here, which is good, okay? And it's gonna hold up a lot more. I know that when a hurricane comes close, they start evacuating. And here, what they would do is evacuate the people that are along the coast. So if you live along the beach or wherever, if a hurricane was coming at us, which this one isn't, but if it was coming at us, we would have to evacuate there. They also evacuate anybody in a mobile home, okay, because that building isn't built that strong. And so these are things that they go through, and all they're doing is trying to make it for your safety. But this storm, it's out over open waters right now. There is another, this is showing what the temperatures of the waters are. And over here where it's at, it's very warm, okay? Ours is warm over here, but it's not heading this way, it's going this way. And so it's over the warm water, which is going, it's like adding fuel to a fire, adding gasoline to a fire. It's gonna make it grow stronger. And that's why they have this one prediction where it's supposed to be a Category 4, possibly. There is another, this one. yesterday somebody asked me what the miles per hour and everything is. This here is Hurricane Michael, and this is the eye of it. And this hurricane went in 2 years ago. Yes, it went in 2 years ago. Over, and this is where it goes in, is called Mexico Beach. It's in Florida. And I drove past up here, 4 months later, and trees were just ripped off at the tops. Big trees. And they were just snapped at like 15 feet up. They were all snapped. It was amazing, and it was kind of scary, and eerie, just to see that whole area that was just totally wiped out. And it was still 4 months afterwards, and they're still cleaning it up. But there were some questions here. Here's the answers that I was looking for. How are hurricanes ranked? Okay, first of all, let's see, there's another one. When they are a storm that goes to, here it is. Tropical depressions has winds up to 38 miles an hour. So if it's below 38 miles an hour, it's just a tropical depression. It does not get a name. Okay, it doesn't get a name. When they get to 39 to 73 miles an hour, that's when it becomes what's known as a tropical storm, and it gets the name. That's when Laura got its name. That's when Marco got its name. Okay, the last two. When they get to 74 miles an hour, they become a hurricane. Anywhere from a 74 mile an hour winds to 95, that's a Category 1 hurricane, okay, which is the lowest level hurricane. And they keep getting stronger. Category 2 is 96 to 110, okay. Category 3 is 111 to 130. And right now, this is where Laura's at. It's in the lower side of the Category 3 at 115, but it's still there. Category 4, they're predicting this hurricane to get above 131 miles an hour at one point, okay, into 155. Category 5 is 156 and beyond. 3, 4, and 5, these three are considered major hurricanes. Intense, strong, devastating, okay? You don't want to be around them, okay? Michael, that I showed you there earlier, it was in the earlier part of this. That was a Category 5 when it went in. Last year we had Dorian. It was off the coast of Florida. It was over Grand Bahama Island for a couple of days. It was moving at 0 to 2 miles an hour, very slow. It had a little over 180 mile an hour winds at one point. That is very strong, okay? So these are things that are going on, and the reason that I'm talking about them is because we're going to be going over this stuff a lot later with our science, okay? We get into it around January. And here is our radar right now, and it shows this is probably a way outer band of Hurricane Laura, but it's way out there for right now. And it's not supposed to affect us at all. In fact, what it's supposed to do is just it's going to pull a lot of the moisture out of our air because it's sucking it into that hurricane. And that's where it's going towards. So it pulls the moisture out. And today we're supposed to have a heat advisory. So when we go out, make sure you get your water before, and we'll get you some water when you come back in. So, all right, enough on that for right now. Later today, we'll go over some more, okay? For right now, let's turn and look at page 8 in your science books. Page 8. Page 8 in your science book, it's talking about what makes up matter. And up at the top of page 8 and over on page 9, stand back and look at the picture from a distance. What colors do you see? What colors do you see just looking at it? Name one color for me. Zachary. Purple?
Yellow.
Yellow? Green? George? Pink?
White.
White?
Black.
Black? Okay. Now look at the dots closely. Get right up close to them. Tell what colors you see. Blue? Yellow? You get up close, it looks a little different, doesn't it? You can't see the whole picture. There's a painting that's down in the Dali Museum. And at the Dali Museum, if you walk up and you look at this painting, it's a huge painting, okay? You look at it, it looks like a bunch of white dots that are on there. And there's one little picture in there, and it's a picture of Abraham Lincoln. Huge painting. And you look at it and you see this one little picture of Abraham Lincoln. Then if you get and you walk all the way to the end of the hallway, okay? Now, their hallway, it's like where we have the water fountains out here, and going down to the glass doors at the other end, okay? Long distance. And then you turn around and you look back at that painting, you're like, wow, I never saw that. Because when you're right up close, you can't see everything. But when you get farther away, that little picture that you would see of Abraham Lincoln that's in there, when you get back that far, the whole thing is that picture of Abraham Lincoln. But you can't see the whole picture because you're up too close. Okay? Who wants to read fun facts for me? Need it right, nice and loud. Come on, volunteer. No volunteers? Lauren, will you read it for me? Where it says fun facts on page 8.
Have you ever noticed how nice it smells when you walk into some buildings? There's a type of air freshener that comes in solid lumps, about the size of a soap bar. These scented lumps do not melt at a room temperature, but microscopic particles of them become loose and are released into the air, where we can enjoy their
Fragrance.
If you see these particles in a closed container, they will slowly collect on the sides, forming beautiful crystals. The shape of the crystals changes from one week to the next, depending on the temperature of the room.
I've tried this each year. I got a big plastic jar and I put a fragrance thing in it, and I don't know, the fragrance things that I've tried just don't work. I don't know why, they just don't. On to page 9. Matter. Need another reader. Come on. George, will you read for me, please?
Ice, water, air. Like ice, water, and air the amount of matter in an object. Matter includes the food we eat, our homes, our furniture, the sun, the moon, and the clothes. A large sand sculpture is made out of matter. It takes up a lot of space. It has a large mass. But if you look at it closely, you will see that it is made out of tiny sandgrains. The sandgrain is also made out of matter. It is woody and colored like the sculpture. But unlike the sculpture, the sandgrain has a small mass and it does not take up a large space at all. Matter is made of tiny particles.
Now, one of the questions that always comes up is about, all right, I know that solids, it's made up of matter, okay? Liquids, you can touch it, feel it, you know, it's wet, it's made up of matter. But air, I can't touch it, I can't feel it. It's not made up of, it's not matter. It is, okay? The thing is if you take a balloon and you blow it up, does it take up space? Okay? It takes up space. It is made up of small little particles. We can't feel them, we can't touch them, but it is matter. If you go outside, let's see, if you go to Lake Charles, Louisiana tomorrow, you'll feel it. What will you feel? What's going to happen at Lake Charles, Louisiana tomorrow? Hurricane will be there. So that means that what's going to be there? Matter. What matter? Air. A lot of wind blowing, right? Will you feel the wind? In a hurricane, yeah, you better feel it. There's also going to be water, okay? And there's also going to be flying objects, okay? Which are all matter. Solids, liquids, and gases are all made up of matter, okay? Down there, bottom on page 9, you have questions, compare and contrast. They have you using the graphic organizer. Describe the sand sculpture and the grain of sand, how they are alike and how they're different. How are they different? It's made up of all those particles, isn't it? One is big and one's made up of just the little parts. Okay, so that's differences there. How are they alike? They're both sand. Okay? One is just the particle of it, and the other is a whole bunch of particles that make something else. Okay? Have you guys ever been to one of the sand sculpture things at the beach? You need to go when they have, if they have them again, you need to go. They make all sorts of cool things. It's amazing to see some of the stuff that they make. All right, on to page 10 and 11. Let's get through these 2 pages here. Elements. Who wants to read elements? Come on, somebody. Sasha.
You can probably think of many kinds of food, many different medicines, or several types of fabric. Have you ever wondered how many different kinds of matter exist? The world around you is made of thousands of materials. All these materials are made of the same basic kind of matter called elements. Elements are ingredients that make up all the other substances. Elements cannot be broken down into
react in its own way with other elements.
When you get into middle school, you're gonna learn all the different elements. There's an element chart, and it's made up of solids, of liquids, gases, okay? And there's more than 100 on there. It's up around 130, 140, I think. But everything is made up of those 130 parts. Your body is, your desk is, the carpet is, everything is made up of just those parts. That's it. Even Fred out here, the oak tree. Okay? Metals. Page 10. Who wants to, come on, somebody. There we go. Thank you.
Most elements are metals. Metals are good conductors of electricity and heat. They can be shaped into sheets or wires that can bend without breaking. Most metals, such as iron, are solids and have a gray color. Smooth metal surfaces can reflect light, which makes them appear shiny.
Okay. Metals they have certain qualities that make them metals. And one of them is that they can conduct electricity. When you were little, your parents put a bunch of plastic things into the electricity sockets so that you wouldn't take a metal spoon and stick it in there. If you took a metal spoon and stuck it in there, you would get shocked. Okay? Your hair would stand out, you look funny. But that's because that metal would do that. They put a plastic one in there because the plastic does not conduct electricity. Okay? You have, for your chargers, for your iPads, you have a thing that you stick, a box that you stick into the socket, and it sends electricity to your iPad. Okay? But you can touch the cord because there's metal that goes through there, but it's coated in plastic. And that plastic does not conduct electricity. If they did not put the plastic around there, as soon as you touch that metal, you would get shocked. Okay? And that's what it does. Last part, non-metals and semi-metals. One person. Thank you, Joshua.
Elements that do not conduct heat or electricity very well are called non-metals. Some non-metals are gases. One example is oxygen you can breathe. Other non-metals such as carbon and soil
Are solid.
solid. Semi-metals are elements that are sometimes like metals and sometimes like non-metals. For example, they may
Conduct.
conduct electricity, but only when light is shining on them. One of the most useful semi-metals is
Silicon.
silicon.
And right below there, they tell what silicon is. But we have to stop there because you got tech.